Welcome back to SaharaTV. My name is Rudolf Okonkwo. We were supposed to bring you Dr. Haruna Yerima, who was one of the delegates that have been debating in the national conference. He's essentially a delegate from Borno State, and he is a member of the committee looking at how to develop power to in the country. He's in that committee, but we're supposed to bring him on today, but because of technical issues, we couldn't. But luckily for us, we have another doctor who will join us here, Dr. Wumi Akintide. Some of you know him as a columnist with Sahara Reporters and Nigeria World. Dr. Wumi, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you very much, Rudolf.
Now, we are going to take your calls over the phone. We'll be talking about Nigeria, what's going on at the national conference, the situation, the security situation in the country, everything that has been going on. We're going to talk about that. But first of all, I want to talk to Wumi because he just came back from Nigeria, and we want to hear from him, his experience is traveling across the country. Most people always say that we report from New York and we don't get to know the situation on the ground. But we have our people who always go down to Nigeria and bring us first-hand information. So Wumi, welcome.
Thank you.
So you went to Nigeria. What part of Nigeria did you go to?
My first port of call was Lagos. Then I went to Abuja. Then I went to Akure. And I was in Edo and Osun State.
Okay, very good. So what period, when were you in Nigeria?
I was in Nigeria from 15th of March till April 19.
So you were there during the Abuja bombing, were you there?
I left Abuja just a day or two before the bombing, the bomb blast.
Yeah. So now, what is the general situation of things in Nigeria?
Well, it depends on who you ask. I did watch a program moderated by you with a gentleman from, I think it's in Canada, where you were asking the same question, and the guy said there were pockets of changes here and there. There may well be pockets of changes, but for me, I didn't see too much. Our current president is supposed to be a transformational president. That was what he promised, that he was going to change things. And transformation means change. There were at least 4 indices of transformation for me that I was particularly interested in. First one is power outages, which remains very frequent and very, very disturbing and very unhelpful. There is the issue of youth unemployment, which has remained massive up to now as far as I was able to see. And there was this issue of insecurity. Insecurity in the nation is still very rampant, of course, with Boko Haram and what they are doing in the Northeast. You know that nothing is safe at all. And in fact, they are coming down south now. We understand that a few of them were arrested even in River State, and some were even arrested in Abuja. Of course, there was a bomb blast, which means that the thing is spreading. So rather than curtailing it, I think the thing is actually blowing out of proportion. And then there was the issue of shortage. On the streets, you go to the filling stations, you still find long queues waiting to buy petrol. And even though the control price is 97 per liter, but the petrol stations are selling for 130. I had to fill the tank for my car, and we had to actually beg them. The few that had petrol at all, they were selling for 130 per liter. And one surprising thing that happened during this trip for me, I saw a police vehicle. They too, they were looking for petrol to run their vehicle. And they went to the same petrol station that I went to. And they were begging for them to sell to them at $130 130 naira per liter. And those are the people supposed to be the law enforcement to make sure that these people sell according to the control price. At that point, I wanted to take pictures, but they wouldn't let me because I wanted to actually take the pictures and send it to Sahara.
Are you saying that the policemen were begging?
Yes.
They were in uniform?
They were in uniform, yeah.
And they were begging
the petrol
So
attendant.
that's good news. If the police are begging civilians to get something.
Well, I think they were desperate. They just wanted. But what was very striking to me was that they were begging that they sell for them at $130, naira per liter, when the normal control price is 97. And it was displayed all over the place. You will see displays in the petrol station. But the actual price is 130.
Now, let's before we take phone calls from our viewers, I know many of you are on hold. Did you notice any difference in states controlled by Labour Party or the APC and the states that were controlled by PDP? Will you notice if you go from Akure to, let's say, to Ebonyi State, or from Kogi to Adamawa State? Will you notice any difference?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't travel that far.
Okay.
But just talking to people, you will not immediately notice it. Although I did hear from people that some of the states controlled by the ACN or APC, Lagos, Osun, Ogun. I was in Ogun, in some parts of Ogun, because I had to pass through Abeokuta to Ibadan, because the express was not, there was too much traffic hold up there. So I decided to pass through Abeokuta, Erua to Ibadan. And I saw a few things at Abeokuta. The roads are dualized, and you see some pockets of change. And I'm told by people I spoke to that there has been some changes in some of the APC control states. Especially, I saw that in Benin. Yes, you see that Oshiomhole has to be doing something good, has to be doing something right to get Benin in shape like that. So, again, it depends on who you speak to. Yes.
All right. For people who want to call us, the number is on our screen. It's 6465996640, extension 3. We are talking about Nigeria. You can talk about anything, the girls that are still missing. You can talk about the Inyako, governor of Adamawa State, and the letter he wrote to Jonathan. To northern governors, and the reaction of the presidency to that letter. Any other issue, the Boko Haram situation. But our question of today is about resource control. If you've been following the national conference, they are now in committee. And in the committee, one of the major committee is the one looking at power, how to make powers go more to the periphery instead of being at the center. And they were talking about resource control, and the division was very clear between the north and south on how to proceed. All right, I understand that we have Mustafa from London. Mustafa, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you, Mr. Rudolf.
Okay, so what do you want to contribute today?
Yes, first of all, I would like to answer the question you started with. You asked, what is the security situation in Nigeria?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. What is the security situation in Nigeria? You see, I'm in London. I'm not in Nigeria now. And one does not need to be in Nigeria to know the security situation when we see and hear hundreds of people are being killed daily. People are being kidnapped daily. So, of course, if there is security improvement, all this will not happen. Now, to answer that question, I will start by asking, is the Nigerian military losing to Boko Haram? The question is, well, the Nigerian military is not losing to Boko Haram, and everything they are doing is properly according to plan. And I think Jonathan deserves to honor them. First of all, to explain what I mean here, you see, the level of Nigerian military sophistication in the entire West African region is second to none. They are more equipped, more populous, very tactical, to the extent that West African nation under ECOWAS sought for Nigerian military intervention in war situations. Do you remember Liberia was completely in chaos? ECOWAS, under the leadership of Nigeria, went there, fought the rebels very fiercely, and restored peace, stability, and democratic governance. So how can Boko Haram, a ragtag, fully illiterate people in an open desert corner of Nigeria, succeed in killing over 5,000 Nigerian souls, many of whom are the same military, dealing a huge blow to this mighty West African military? The answer is the military is involved in Boko Haram operational and strategy. They are part of Boko Haram, and was even confirmed in BBC by a serving military personnel that they were denied strong weapons while confronting Boko Haram. Some of them have been shot from behind, meaning from their colleagues. and attributed to Boko Haram. Can you explain this? How can over 200 fleeing and screaming innocent schoolgirls be successfully rounded up and loaded into truck, driven away to unknown situation with zero interference from this mighty military force in a state completely under emergency rule? These are not flies. Even chicken will make the loudest noise, attracting attention of the entire neighborhood. So the Nigerian military is part of Boko Haram. They have done their job very well, and according to plan, they deserve to be honored by their president. I think the situation is not good in Nigeria, and I don't know what's next. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before you go, let me ask you. So I think we lost him. But this is a very... Oh, you're on the line. Okay, let me ask you. What do you think? Who planned this? Are you saying that there are people in the military, I'm assuming high-ranked officers in the military, who decided to work for the enemy, for Boko Haram, and move some of their forces there and now attack our own military? Is that what you're saying? And how is it planned in your own imagination? Because for many people, this is difficult to understand, that the Nigerian military, as diverse as it is, with the people controlling it, with the NSA, a National Security Advisor, with the Minister of Defense, that it's possible that these people are aware that some people in the military are now working for Boko Haram, or there's a plot to do this, and they can't do anything about it. What do you think is going on?
What I think is going on is exactly as confirmed by a certain Nigerian military personnel. This is exactly what he said. How can they be given small arms to fight Boko Haram, who are more sophisticated with more modern equipment? This is undermining the Nigerian military personnel, the poor Nigerian military personnel at the war front. Look at the size of the Nigerian military force. Liberia was completely in chaos. A whole country, not a small region in an open desert. A whole country, we all know that. Nigeria military under the leadership of the ECOWAS, under the leadership of Nigerian military, they succeeded in a counter war in Liberia very fiercely. It was all over, and it was even commanded all over. So how can Nigerian military face a small ragtag, very poor, illiterate people in a semi-desert location and say that they are not successful in the operation? Confirmed by one of them.
Yeah, all right, Richard, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's take another call. I'll come to you because I want to get your opinion on this. Who is on the line? Hello? Okay, all right. So what is your take on, what do you think about, because this is a very widespread idea that there are elements, and when we've seen the evidence, I mean, some people talking to the BBC, Voice of America, saying that this is going on. What is going on? What do you think is going on?
In fact, if I remember correctly, I think the president of the country, President Jonathan himself, admitted that there were Boko Haram sympathizers in his cabinet. What more evidence we need? If the president himself could admit that, we know that there are 5 columnists within the cabinet itself. But the issue is, how is the president dealing with that? Usually in some other places, if you admit that there are 5 columnists within your rank and file of your security organization, you take immediate steps to identify them and take them out. But in the case of Nigeria, it's not so easy for President Jonathan to do. And that's why some of us feel that the guy is weak. He's weak in the sense that he knew very well that there are Boko Haram sympathizers within the cabinet. And in any case, when we're talking about the Nigerian military, a lot of these military people came from the same northeast area, Borno area, who are full-fledged members of the Nigerian military. You expect them to go and start killing their own kith and kin? That's part of the problem. So the guy or the lady who spoke, I think he was very, very correct. That how could a military as powerful as this, which is able to deal with insurrection in Gambia or the Sierra Leone, but cannot handle very little problem caused by the ragtag army that the Boko Haram people were. I totally agree with what the other speaker has said, that it's actually it's mind-boggling to feel that the Nigerian military could not deal with this situation and deal with it effectively.
All right, I understand we have Dr. Akin in Maryland. Leke in Maryland. Hello, welcome to Sahara TV.
Yes, Rudolf, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good. So what is your contribution?
Yes, I wanted to comment on the contribution of the last speaker from London, Mustafa Mohammed. He spoke elaborately about what he thought was the Nigerian military involvement with Boko Haram.
Go ahead.
I believe he actually spoke the minds of a lot of Nigeria and all over the world. Because if you look at it very well, you know, most people find it hard to believe or understand that a small band of people could be perpetrating the kind of criminal act.
All right, Dr. Leke, you can call back, please. We have audio issue with your line. So before we get back to Leke, so you were saying that you agree with the caller from London that there are elements in the military. Now the question next is are you talking about leadership of the military or people who are now part of the leadership of the military?
Both leadership and the rank and file. Yeah, both. It has to be both, because if it's just the rank and file, then it's easy to deal with it. But when it is both leadership and rank and file, then it becomes a huge problem. I think they put their fingers right on it.
Now, but there's a question I always ask people about this Nigerian military and their readiness to take on insurgency like Boko Haram. Because if you talk about Liberia and any other place they fought, it's a different kind of war. This one, you're fighting people who are not in uniform, people who basically come out and attack and go back into wherever they are. So I don't know if they have the tactical training to deal with this kind of oppression. And even Jonathan has said in many cases that our military, not Jonathan, the governor of Borno State, that they are not motivated, that they are afraid to die. They are dealing with enemies, especially when you have enemies within, you know. There was an operation they carried out. They said that somebody revealed to Boko Haram where they were, their position, and they were attacked and killed. So in that situation, it may be a kind of enemy that they are not used to.
Yeah, to some extent, I think you are right. But when, for example, when you're talking about the problem in Liberia, for instance, under Charles Taylor, most of the techniques that some of the Charles Taylor militia were using are very similar to what these people are using. So it's not entirely correct to say that maybe they are dealing with a completely different situation. And even if you are dealing with a completely different situation, you know going forward that you are fighting with people who already know the terrain of the place very well, and they know how to hide in the mountains and so on. So that will be part of your military preparedness for that army. So an army as professional as the Nigerian army cannot hide under that excuse as a reason for their failure to be able to handle Boko Haram. And rather than addressing the issue and calling the shots, people are trying to pass the buck. Because I've heard the story, they said, okay, it was Muhammadu Buhari who was instigating them, who was after them. Buhari is not even in government. It's true that Buhari made some statements that could be misconstrued, but I do not believe that it was Buhari that was actually behind this insurrection. What was the problem was that there is infiltrators. They've infiltrated, Boko Haram has infiltrated the Nigerian military, and that's a great problem.
Okay. Joy in Michigan, welcome to Sahara TV.
Okay, thank you, Rudolf.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to address this to Dr. Akintide.
Okay.
Actually, he spoke well that Jonathan is weak, and then. Okay, thank you, Rudolf. Yeah, Dr. Akintide rightly said that our President Jonathan is weak, and the military is infiltrated by kis and kin of the Boko Haram. So I want to ask him, what does he feel Jonathan can do at this time? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a good question.
Well, I'm talking for myself right now about what I thought President Jonathan could do. You know, you see the situation in Ukraine and against Russia right now. What Ukraine is basically doing is looking at themselves and looking at their weak points and finding out who can best support them against Russia. Now, our own president ought to have come to that conclusion. The issue of Boko Haram is very, very similar to the issue of Al-Qaeda. And that once Al-Qaeda started in the Middle East and in Iran and Iraq and all of these places, what the Boko Haram people are doing is an extension of what Al-Qaeda started. And I thought that if America, as powerful as it is actually ready to confront Al-Qaeda by all means possible, if our president is wise enough and if he's not as weak and incompetent, I would say, he should have seen that because he was building a good relationship with Obama. I wonder what he goes to the White House to discuss. When you have a fire under your own roof and you have no solution to that something and you go to the White House, what should you be discussing at that point? You should be discussing your problem. Insecurity is the greatest problem of Nigeria. And the greatest responsibility of any president is securing the people, making sure that there is stability. And once you forfeit that, you've lost everything. And that's why I feel that I don't hate President Jonathan. In fact, when he was to be elected, I was one of the people who actually came out to converse and support him. And when they were trying to stop him from taking over from Yar'Adua, I thought he was wrong, that he was next in line and he should succeed. But he raised so many hopes, and so many of those hopes were being dashed. To answer your question directly, you said, what can the president do? The president should be able to understand his own problem and be able to find ways to solve it. And one of the ways to solve it is that if he's able to prove to President Obama, for instance, or America, or some of the Western powers, that what is happening with Boko Haram is a fallout from Al-Qaeda. And therefore, this is it's not just a problem for Nigeria alone, it's a problem for the whole world, even for America, and then seek help.
Okay, I think that Jonathan says things like that all the time, that this is a world problem. It's not just a Nigerian problem.
Yes, but he did not quite articulate it. When you say it's a world problem and you give the impression that, oh, Nigeria is doing well, in a short time we'll be able to get rid of Boko Haram. That is not telling the truth. Now, Nigeria is losing. We are losing to Boko Haram.
We're going to talk
First
about...
of all, you got to admit that. Yes.
Okay, I understand that we have Tope in Missouri joining us. Tope, welcome to Sahara TV.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
Okay.
I would like to make some few contributions to what Dr. and yourself has been saying.
Okay.
Now, we have some fundamental issues here. First of all, I want to talk about the border issue. You see, even the United States is finding it difficult to secure its borders. You know, the border issue is a very big issue. It's a very, very huge issue that we don't even try to look at. However, these people are actually banking on the fact that there is a disconnect between the poor and the rich. The rich people has made the poor people hate them, which is not supposed to be. I mean, every is meant to have the poor man and the rich man. It doesn't mean sometimes the poor people are much more happier than the rich people. You know, it's not a problem to be poor or it's not a big deal to be rich. It's just based on what you do and how you define yourself. So the people behind this thing have actually banked on this fact that the poor people hate the rich people hate the poor people, and that's why this thing has been going on and on and on.
Okay, Tobe, sorry, I have to stop you here so that we can talk to other people, okay? Thank you so much for calling us. All right, so this issue with the president and even the Americans saying that this is an issue with poverty, like what Tobe is talking about, that the government failed the young ones, the youths, and they are hopeless and they are forced to join Al-Qaeda. I want to know what you think about that. And also the bigger issue about what our first caller talked about, if there are people in the military who are undermining the goal of stopping Boko Haram, should the blame be on the president? And some people are suggesting, including the governor of Adamawa State, that it's actually the president that is actually planning to eliminate people in the north by using the military or people in the military to kill innocent people. What is going on there?
Well, I don't know what the governor of Borno, what is privy to, or what he Adamawa, what he has access to. I definitely don't have access to certain. But one thing I know is that the president himself admitted, I keep harping on it, that that his cabinet is being infiltrated by Boko Haram. But he did not go ahead to announce what he was doing about that. Shouldn't he have done that? At least basic. To let us know when you know you cannot solve a problem you don't even know that you don't have. When you know you have a problem, that is the beginning of finding a solution. You first of all have to admit that a problem exists before you can start thinking of a solution. And when Nigeria goes about saying that everything, and the president goes about telling everybody that everything is okay, Nigeria is all right. In fact, I was in Abuja when they announced that Nigerian GDP has become the highest in the whole of Africa, and that Nigeria is now first above South Africa, and so on. Whereas the reality on the ground does not confirm that at all.
All right, hold your thoughts. I understand Ayo in London is joining us. Ayo, welcome to Sahara TV.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to join the conversation.
Okay.
Now, what I want to put across is this. What is the worst, or let's look at the worst case scenario regarding this Boko Haram. The problem, I think, is this. The issue is being localized to the northeast. Kind of, it's their problem.
But it's spreading.
Even though I'm getting there. Even though it's spreading, but there's this mentality that it's still their problem. But what could be a worse case scenario? And this is what I want to paint. Supposing Boko Haram, going by their attacks thus far, becomes so emboldened that they actually do a grab for the seat of Abuja. Because it's not impossible.
They've done it.
If they could have struck so close to the villa, they didn't strike the villa, but if they could have struck so close to such a sensitive institution as the SSS, which I cannot see it happening in any other developed nation.
But they struck the police headquarters.
And it's being camouflaged under the banner of some people tried to break out. But I think it was a break-in. Now, if they could do that, the worst-case scenario is they become so emboldened, they actually do a grab for the seat of power. Now, whether they'll be successful or not is a different question. But the psychological impact, if they do attempt it, is what needs to be looked at. And if the government say, well, it's not east, maybe we'll be able to contain it, I wonder where we'll be January 1, 2016.
All right. Thank you so much, Ayo. Let me ask you, because part of what Ayo is saying now, there was an incident in Lagos this week where people thought that Boko Haram struck on, I think, one of the roads, major roads in Lagos, and there was a rumor, and the police commissioner had to come out and say, no, it's not true. Now, the possibility of something happening in other parts of the country, or maybe a major place like Lagos, what do you think that will mean for the country?
It's going to mean a lot of mayhem and fear and a whole lot of confusion, especially in a city where you have so much traffic logjam, like Lagos or even Abuja. And the mere fact that Boko Haram already had a bomb blast, which they admitted, they came out to admit that it was caused by them. And not only that, some Boko Haram elements were arrested in Port Harcourt, River State. It was in the news. So if they could go as far as Port Harcourt, what stops them from going to Lagos? Nothing. Nothing stopped them. I mean, in fact, once upon a time, there used to be checkpoints all over Lagos Road, Nigerian roads. Not anymore, because I travel all the way from Lagos to Akure and from there to Benin. I think we were only stopped about 3 times along the road. So with that kind of porousness and situation, these people are coming down south. And what is so disturbing was that they said Boko Haram means that Western civilization, Western education is forbidden. If that is their goal, then the whole country is in trouble, because the rest of the country is embracing Western civilization, Western education. And then the cross-section of our people in the north are saying that, no, we don't want that. We want Sharia, we want that. So we are in deep, deep trouble. And I would be glad if our president can even own up to that, admit it at least. But it's not happening. So somebody asks now, who is to blame for all this problem? For the Boko Haram infiltrating the military? Our president is supposed to be the commander-in-chief. What kind of commander-in-chief are you if you have a problem under your roof and you cannot do anything about it? Yeah.
All right, we are going to stop here, and when we come back, we are going to test Skype calls. You will still be here. We're going to talk about the girls that were kidnapped, the situation there. We're going to talk about the resource control debate going on at the National Conference, and many, many things. So join us when we come back via Skype. We want to take your Skype calls and talk about some of these issues too. So stay tuned.